Hello and welcome back to the Star Trek Critic, where each episode is graded like a school project, starting with 100 points and losing 1 point for each error. So if you're wondering, why the heck is this guy making videos using still photos of videos? Simply put, all images and story are copyrighted by CBS or Paramount. I own nothing but my own script, and I'm only here to share my observations and encourage everyone to watch the actual shows. This episode is titled, What Are Little Girls Made Of? There is only a vague connection between the title and the actual story. The first point is lost with a stardate mismatch. This show takes place only a few hours before Mary and Dagger of the Mind. This is also one of the rare episodes where a secondary character gets a major role. In the Next Generation and beyond, each character got a storyline or two each year, but the original series usually revolved only around Kirk and Spock. They are traveling to planet EXO III in search of Nurse Chapel's ex-fiancé Roger Corby, a brilliant scientist who specializes in immunization technology, but has been missing for 5 years. Spock says the atmosphere is within safety limits. Kirk says the temperature is 100 degrees below zero, so I'm going to have to take a point because they don't agree. This is incredibly slow compared to light speed. I got 63 miles per second when I tried to figure it out. We never learn what happened to these two expeditions. Did they disappear completely or just come back empty-handed? This request is the first red flag. Actually, he is engaged right now, and the entire bridge staff is all giddy that she's being reunited with her former fiancé that's been missing for 5 years. Now Spock is deep in thought about his own engagement. Is this the only time you see Nurse Chapel on the transporter? I'm not going out there. Look closely, you can see the reflection in the glass. It's a good thing the transporter operator got them inside. 10 feet the other way and they would have frozen in an instant. So I will have to take a point for not beaming down with cold weather gear, because you never know. The set designers create the caverns with magic rocks. Kirk follows correct procedure by calling for security. It looks like they beamed into the penguin encounter at SeaWorld. Matthews goes down in history as the first red shirt in Star Trek to be killed, although 8 crew members before him have died in 6 different episodes, but they always think that it's always a red shirt that dies. Brown doesn't recognize Christine right away. That's a red flag. Kirk asks for more security. There goes the other one. The red shirts are trying to catch up. Brown says they made an incredible discovery of the former inhabitants of EXO III. I will have to take a point for Star Trek showing extra skin just for ratings. Andrea's outfit is similar to Brown's, just without the shirt. The 1960s was a miniskirt era, and Andrea's outfit doesn't show any more skin than a miniskirt, or any inappropriate skin. It's just skin in places that you don't normally see. Andrea kisses up to Christine, but I don't think it's working. It is now colder in here than it is outside. Corby is slightly happy to see Christine again, and the two are upset that Kirk wants to check in with the ship. Corby's plan would have worked better if he let Kirk call the ship and report in. Andrea tries to grab Kirk's phaser. Kirk grabs Andrea instead. He does an excellent role here. I would have hit my head on all the furniture. Ruck throws Kirk around like he's a rag doll, and Brown is now a dead android. He was never really there. Here I have to take a point from special effects because there is a reflection opposite the Enterprise. See, if Corby let Kirk make a routine check-in, Brown wouldn't be dead now, and then he could show a secret without Spock being suspicious. I can't take a point here for a plot hole, since Corby is a scientist in an android's body, and his judgment is just naturally off. Here, Kirk gets Corby to program Ruck not to disobey an order from Christine. Kirk isn't thrilled about Corey's theories, and gets thrown around by Ruck again. So, how does Andrea do certain things, like tie her shoes, or just pick up objects off the ground? I like the outfit, but it's really impractical. Yes, let's start with Andrea. So Andrea did not have a human counterpart like the others. Corby just created her. And here Christine asks the ultimate question. And you can see Kirk wants the answer too. Ah, too bad. Kirk gets kissed and then slapped. Why is Andrea the only female android? Kobe and Brown were both androids. Wouldn't they make one for each of them? He doesn't really answer the questions, he just makes another Kirk. This piece of machinery will turn a big piece of foam into a duplicate android of yourself that has all your memories too. This is very much like what they were attempting in Battlestar Galactica, especially on the Cylon Earth before it got destroyed, and they also touched on it in the series Caprica. They called it resurrection technology. Instead of noticing Kirk sucking in his gut, notice Ruck standing at the side. He's really in the control room, so -1 point for 2 Rucks visible. She's saying, "Roger, you've changed." Poor Kirk got thrown across the room twice by Ruck now, and then spends 20 minutes spinning around on this machine. Kirk is onto their plan. What's great is he knows how to send a message to Spock. Christine can't tell the difference, and now there are 2 Gem Kirks. Didn't the transporter do this just a few shows ago? Here it is. Dr. Corby is a Cylon. Kirk is concerned that Corby wants to take over the galaxy. Corby wants androids to be emotionless humans. The machine could actually help people in need like Vina and Captain Pike, but they aren't thinking like that at all. Corby definitely watched Caprica, since this idea was part of a cult religion on that show. Corby claims he didn't create a replacement Kirk, and asks for transportation to a planet where he can quietly create more androids. But if that's true, why did he send his android Kirk up to the ship to look for a planet? These androids are very much like the humanoid Cylons, since they can also be choked. Nurse Chapel orders Ruck not to harm Kirk. Here Kirk loses a point for breaking the stalactite off too easily. And how did this scene make it past the censors of the 1960s? Kirk knows Ruck is using Christine's voice and tries to use that against him. Kirk has some heavy makeup on right here. How many times in his career has Kirk been hanging off the edge of a cliff? -1 point for the transporter chief not notifying Spock that Kirk was back on the ship. Spock would have still been surprised, especially since he has an armed security team on standby to beam down. Kirk's secret message gets to Spock loud and clear, but -1 more point. Kirk is holding a small case with the information, but isn't carrying it through the hallway since that is a recycled scene. Is Kirk trying to make his move on Andrea, or is he trying to program her so she can tell the 2 Kirks apart? And how does she sit with those belt buckles on her back? That would hurt. Ruck throws Kirk against the wall for a 3rd time. Kirk manages to bring up the equation Ruck used thousands of years ago against the old ones and gets squished by Ruck again. And goodbye to Ruck. Now there are only 2 androids left. Kirk uses this tactic at least 30 times in his career. It works every single time. Now we learn Roger Corby's secret. He used the machine to survive, but now he's kind of corrupt. Ruck hasn't been shut off. Disintegrated is a better word, and that isn't really a safe place to leave a weapon. The android Kirk learns the hard way that he should have kissed Andrea. And the show ends with Kirk and Christine pointing out to the human side of Corby that his android side has some dangerous flaws. Corby has a human-android nervous breakdown, then disintegrates himself and Andrea, which is too bad. He made an incredible discovery that saved his life, but the price was his soul. This will be one of the recurring themes to be found in Star Trek quite frequently. This comment is odd because I never thought she would be leaving the ship. Spock says he didn't like the term Kirk used, and Kirk pretty much says he will only use it as code in similar situations. And what are little girls made of? They are made of 91%. In our credits, we have the first red shirt Death, who had a long career as a stuntman, followed by the second red shirt, who was also Barnhart in The Man Trap. Harry Bash rode RV Vacations for Dummies with his wife. Ted Cassidy, most notably lurked in the Addams Family, had a very short life due to heart failure. The stunning Sherry Jackson from Make Room for Daddy, and the late Michael Strong, who had a stellar acting career, including a part on Galactica in 1980. That's it for now. Click that like button, the subscribe button, and share with the Trek fans you know. Leave your comments below, specifically Andrea's outfit for resurrection technology. Check out the poll at the end, and check out my other videos and playlists. And and I will see you again real soon.